MMA Dawgs say you got money on them say if you know go win say MMA Dawgs.
Welcome to MMA Dawgs. My name is Hector, and this is my dog Dan.
Hi guys.
And we got UFC Fight Night 27. This is a great card, guys, stacked from top to bottom, and as you guys can see, the odds are, and a lot of these fights are very, very close. Very, very close. But the research is done, the homework is done, and we have came to the conclusion here. We have some really good picks. Planning on going 3-0 this weekend. And yeah, we're just going to take it from the top all the way to the bottom. Now what I've done is I've ranked all of the fighters. Of course, we'll start off with betting strategy first. So we'll go over the betting strategy. We'll go over those picks. And then we'll just take it from the ranking. So we'll do fighters who almost made the cut. And then we'll just take it from there, okay? So this particular weekend... before we dive into it here, we have, week. So we've got Wednesday, UFC Fight Night 27. Then on the weekend, we have UFC 164. That's on Saturday. And then next Wednesday, we have another fight night, and this one will be in Brazil. So we just got UFC back to back. So it's easy to say here that my dog and I have our plates full, plenty of work to be done. And so yeah, we've got a lot of exciting stuff coming up, and as always, thank you for tuning in. You know, our very special viewers, our MMA Dog family, and you know, I say MMA Dog family because you guys are the ones paying for the pay per event and getting this exclusive video before anybody gets it, before the fights happen, obviously, and then we release it to the rest of the world to see it afterwards, so they can see, you know, what they would get, what they're missing out on, and we get a chance to show people what we do. So no more words to talk about here and sit here and jibber jabber. No, let's get straight to the work.
Get straight down to the work.
Betting strategy. Now you guys are familiar with it. 5 stars. Unfortunately, this weekend there are no 5 stars. 5-star plays. There's no need to force these 5-star plays. It can be tempting to want to force certain plays, but you know what? Most of the time it's better safe than sorry, so there are no 5-star plays. But there is a 4-star play, and he comes from Hawaii, and his name is Brad Tavares. Now, with Brad Tavares, what are we getting in a fighter of Brad Tavares? Now, one thing I want to share, and this fight really clearly stands out in my brain when comes to Brad Tavares, and that was his fight with Aaron Simpson. My dog and I were there watching the fight, dead center, and in this particular fight, it looked like, sorry I keep sniffling, we got my allergies going right now, but in this particular fight, Brad Tavares, I was impressed with his ability to not only defend what Aaron Simpson just kept coming forward, trying to put him up against the cage, kept trying to do this, kept trying to do that. And obviously Aaron Simpson is a wrestler, right? He's a ASU alum wrestler, just a really good base. And Brad Tavares coming from Hawaii, you know, Hawaiian guys aren't known for the wrestling. The ability he had to keep the fight on his feet. Not only keep the fight on his feet, but clinch up and control, octagon control, and just his ability to dictate where the fight went and what pace this fight was going at. I was really impressed by this guy. And I remember clearly telling my dog, you know, this guy's a guy to watch out for and research and watch more video footage on, and I was really impressed. Now, fast forward to his Fukuda fight, Ricky Fukuda, another wrestler, a very strong wrestler, trains at AKA with all those beasts over there. And not only did Brad Tavares impress me once again, but he won the fight. And I was very impressed with him. He's working over there with Ray Sefo and a bunch of good guys over there in Vegas. And just very impressed with this guy. From all the interviews that I've seen, all the workout footage, just very impressed with what he brings So he's evolving. He's just getting better and better and better. And I just see this guy as one of the fighters that the UFC has on the rise. I mean, he's just going to become a star. And now, if we take a look at Bubba McDaniel, this guy, you know, I'm a polite guy and respectful, and I have manners and everything. But when it comes down to predicting and wagering and investments and being realistic about certain things, this guy is a mental midget. I mean, a mental midget. I mean, just I mean, there's another way I could put it. Maybe like you know, he just, every single opportunity this guy gets, from what I've seen, you know, from training with Greg Jackson and John Jones and the Ultimate Fighter House. I mean, this guy just breaks mentally. He's just very, very small mentally, and worse than Uriah Hall. And we saw what happened to Uriah Hall the first UFC fight night, 26. I mean, this guy, this Bubba McDaniel guy, you know, he's just, oh man, he's got plenty of opportunities to succeed, and just continues to disappoint. Even in this victory that he had in the UFC, how bad did he look? I mean, how just unimpressive. And the house, you can tell he's whining and complaining. I understand. Trust me, everybody has a rough life. Everybody has shit they don't want to take care of. Everybody's got to deal with bullshit every day. Maybe you have an asshole neighbor. You got a boss you don't like. You got you know, whatever it is that you got to deal with in your life. This guy just complains. Hey, you know what? If I'm training in Albuquerque, dog, I'm training with John Jones, and I got Greg Jackson and Winkle John and all these guys. Hey, you know what? I'm going to have a good attitude. I'm going to go out there, do my best. And this guy just complains and whines. And then that's not even to say about his like I said, his fighting ability. Just fight IQ's terrible. Just goes out there. I mean, this guy is just, he shouldn't even be in the UFC. And I see Brad Tavares having his way, getting a TKO stoppage or a knockout. With that being said, you know, it does not surprise me that the line currently sits around minus 450, minus 400 at some spots, and it's well deserved. So now in regards to that, the most important thing is to pick a winner, regardless of the line is you know, this or that. The most important thing is picking a winner. And with Brad Tavares, excuse me.
Bless you, dog.
Thanks. With Brad Tavares, that's what I see happening on Wednesday night. So minus 450, I have no problem laying that price for him in a straight bet. Also parlay worthy, so I feel he's definitely worthy of putting in a parlay, a 2-leg parlay, possibly a 3-leg parlay, and we'll talk about that as we move down the card. But I have no problem laying minus 450 on him. You know, it's not a problem at all. I see him winning this via TKO, a stoppage, at worst getting a decision. But I definitely see Brad Tavares winning this fight. And then let's move on here. So let's continue moving along. Now we'll go to 3 stars. For this one, a very confident pick, 3-star pick, and that is, he just barely missed the cutoff for me for 4 stars. Barely missed it, but very solid on the upper end of the 3-star, and that is Carlos Condit. Now, Carlos Condit, he's on the other side of the Greg Jackson camp I was talking about. This guy is just a fighter, natural-born fighter. They call him the natural-born killer, the natural killer. I mean, this guy is just tough. He can do it all. Knock you out. He's got knockout power. He's got submission. He's got it all. He's got the whole game. And with this particular fight, you know, he's going up against a fighter who is very much also well-rounded. You know, Martin Kampmann, very well-rounded fighter, experienced. But what he does not have is lately, if you take a look at the fights Carlos Condit has had, he's fought Diaz, he's fought GSP, 5-round fights, you know, nearly beat GSP. He fought, what was the most recent fight, dog?
Johnny Hendricks.
Johnny Hendricks.
Yeah.
If you look at that fight, he lost the first 2 rounds, won the 3rd round. Had that fight continued, I have a lot of confidence that he would have won the 4th and 5th round. This is a 5-round fight. This is a 5-round fight against a guy who in Martin Kampmann, who is just hot and cold. This guy, you know, he could be getting knocked out 1 second. He could find himself in the other end of the knockout. I mean, this guy's just all over the place. And with Carlos Condit, you know, I ask myself, he's got 2 losses in a row, right? Carlos Condit does. I ask myself, is Carlos Condit gonna lose 3 fights in a row? And fat chance. I don't see it happening. Now, from what I've seen in the past and everything I've seen, every time a fighter loses 2 fights in a row, most of the time, I say 90% of the time, the third fight, for that third loss in a row, a totally different fighter comes out. And you know, these two guys have faced each other off in the past, and I see Carlos Condit just evolving, just a much better fighter, and I see Carlos Condit getting this fight. I see him getting it in a knockout. He definitely will knock out TKO on Kampmann. Very confident in this one. And we'll move along to my third and last pick. Now this one is a very interesting fight. I had it originally a 4-star pick, and ultimately it ended up as a 3-star pick. And you guys will see why in a second. And I'll go into it. The main thing I want to focus on this particular fight for my pick, 3 stars, is going to be Abel Trujillo. Now, a lot of people are what's the word for it here? Let's see. Are dismissing, maybe underestimating, maybe counting out Abel Trujillo. Let me tell you guys a little something about Abel Trujillo. In his last fight, he fought a guy in Khabib Nurmagomedov, who, this guy is, in my opinion, he's top 10 in the world. I mean, this guy is just a beast. He can do it all. If you take a look at his not only his fight footage, take a look at who he trains with, his mental outlook. Take a look at some of his interviews. Just everything. This Khabib guy is just a beast. If he doesn't knock you out, he submits people. And I was really impressed with. Obviously, I wasn't impressed where he lost, but I was very impressed how he hung in there for 3 rounds. And I thought to myself, man, they gave him this Levesser guy who obviously, you know, he's not UFC quality caliber, but he got a chance to display his explosiveness, striking power, and then they threw him right to the wolves right away to this Khabib guy, and you know, that was just a big jump. And I see this happen a lot with a lot of fighters where they go easy, boom, big jump, and they get right back to where they should be, and that's where he should be. He should be going up against a guy like Bowling, and I know a lot of guys, you know, they're real high on Bowling, but if you look at his fight footage, very low fight IQ, no chin, he'll be gasses. Those are all recipes for disaster. And when a guy has those 3 things, low fight IQ, gassing, and just no chin, those are very hard things to change. Very hard things to change, especially, you know, going up against like a guy like Abe here, who is just a killer. He's got the fast twitch muscle, explosive, and he's got cardio. And I see Abe here finishing him. I really do see him. At worst, a decision, but I really do see him getting the knockout here, rocking him, you know, just like Njokuani did, if not in a more brutal way. I really see this fight. You know, my dog's smiling over here because we were just talking about this particular fight. I mean, my dog just was reenacting what Njokuani did to Bowling. I was just had me laughing. So you know, those 3. I had him originally as a 4-star. But like I said, we're gonna be conservative here. There are so many fights on this card, and these 3 are the ones that made the cut, that are going to be the betting picks. And you know, we feel very confident about these 3 guys. So confident that like I said, we've got the guarantee that we will pick definitely more winners, and we stand behind it 100%. Now, there are some other fighters here that I definitely want to spend some good time talking about, because you might see something on here, you might have a certain understanding or a certain opinion or a certain thing you found on a fighter that has you thinking, maybe I want to bet him. So perhaps we can help you with that. So that's what it's all about here. So the next guy that I want to talk about, and I know my dog is excited to talk about this guy. He just barely missed a cut. I mean, this guy was so close. He missed it by a hair. I mean, this guy, and that is Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker here, in my opinion, most recently he's been training at TriStar, And in my opinion, this guy is just an up-and-coming kind of guy. I mean, you see his striking, it's already very high level striking. And with him going up to TriStar, it's no mystery, no mistake that he's got great opportunity to learn the whole game. So not only the takedown defense, but also maybe some wrestling of his own. He's got GSP up there for us, a hobby, Rory McDonald. So he's got the best training partners he can have. And I'm very excited to see what he's going to do, and he's only sitting at minus 145. And as you guys know, I've spoken about this before. I'm more interested in picking winners than necessarily looking at the odds. So, but when you've got a fight like this, it stands out. I see this guy on the come up, and with Court McGee, he's overall well-rounded fighter. But he doesn't have anything that really stands out. He doesn't have one thing or the other that stands out. We've seen him fight at least once or twice in person, real life. And he's okay, he's solid, but he's very hittable. And Robert Whittaker, all he's got to do is connect a 1-2 combination on him, finish him off with a third punch, and that'll be the end of him. So he almost made the cut. I wouldn't blame you if you bet him. I just can't guarantee that pick this time around. I just really can't do it. I'd like to see what kind of improvements he's showing at TriStar, because like I said, McGee's just so well-rounded, sturdy guy, but he is very hittable. So I'm going with Robert Whittaker on this one. I won't be surprised if he gets a knockout TKO. I'm curious to see what my dog has to say. What do you think? What are your thoughts on this one, dog?
Yeah, dog. This was a really close one to not make it a betting pick, but ultimately it is what it is. I was very impressed. I was at his last fight, Robert Whittaker's last fight in Vegas at UFC 160 when he knocked out Ultimate Fighter winner Colton Smith.
Yeah.
And that was a fight that he had Colton Smith hurt in early, and Smith's a tough guy. He showed a chin.
Yep.
But ultimately later in the fight he just couldn't take it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And going up against a guy like Court McGee, who we were at his fight when he beat Josh Neer. Mm. He looked just different from when we were at his fight 3 years ago when he submitted Ryan Jensen at UFC 121.
Yep.
And the Dong Yang fight, if Dong Yang had better cardio, he could have finished Court McGee late in that fight, because Court McGee was just gassed. Mm-hmm. He was just gassed. Yeah. And Nick Ring, Costa Philippou, Court McGee just really didn't stand. I shouldn't say he didn't stand a chance, but he had no business fighting upper caliber fighters like that. So ultimately, Robert Whittaker gonna win this fight. Mm-hmm. Probably a decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes him.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you just when a fight could go to decision, you just can't rely on the judges as when you have your money on them. So it's definitely worth considering if you like that bet. But for us, we just didn't make it a betting pick.
Yeah, not for this particular card, but. Great points, dog. I mean, this is just, I see this guy going out there, and you like him for decision. I really think he'll get that knockout, McGee, maybe in the third round again, maybe in the second round. But Robert Whittaker, nonetheless. Now for the next fighter, he too, for me, almost made the cut. My dog feels a little differently about it, but that's okay, because we'll have our chance to speak our piece here. It's a bantamweight fight. We got Erik Perez versus Takeya Mizugaki. Now, I like Perez in this fight. I really do. Once again, another Greg Jackson fighter. On the rise. He's real young. He's real young. But, man, this guy, every time he steps in the octagon, he's submitting people. He's just explosive, looking for the finish. And,
bless you, dog.
Room. And I really see him as a guy coming up, just ready to make an impact in the division, and well-rounded, like I said. And with Mizugaki, this guy, he's good, but he'll win one, he'll lose one, he'll win one, he'll lose one, he'll win a couple, he'll lose one. He's he's more like a gatekeeper. I don't mean to disrespect him, because it kind of the gatekeeper, but he's just kind of like right there on that level. And I think he even said, Perez I'm going to be the measuring stick for Perez, or something along those lines. And it's just like, what? With Perez, I just see somebody who, on the rise, taking care of business. And every time I watch him fight, I'm just like, wow, this guy is really, really good. And I remember with one of his one of his most recent fights. I think it was the one he had against the one before Byron Bloodworth.
Ken Stone.
Yeah, the one with Ken Stone, where I believe the odds were closer than definitely closer than the one with Byron Bloodworth. But I remember thinking to myself, how was this guy? How was his odds as low as they were? And he just goes out there, boom, knocks the guy out. So I really like him a lot, and once again, for me, he's somebody who I can count on, and will definitely be picking him. But as my dog will point out here in a minute, this Mizugaki guy, he's just so relentless. There's no quit in him. He'll talk a little bit about the Faber fight, but it's just, it's hard to count this Mizugaki guy out. And if Mizugaki wins the decision, and we don't see Perez have the cardio to last in there, and he's got so many split decision losses, it'll just be like, I should have played it safe on this fight rather than risking a substantial amount of money, of my hard-earned money, and putting it on this guy who is going up, definitely Byron Bloodworth to Takeya Mizugaki. That is a big jump. Let's not sugarcoat this thing. So the pick will definitely be Perez. I do see him finishing it, but I would not be surprised if Mizugaki gets the decision.
Yeah, dog. Oh, man. Excellent points on this one. Erik Perez is one of those guys that just came into the UFC and just blew out his first three opponents.
Mm-hmm.
The John Alpert fight, that was a bit controversial. Not that he was going to lose that fight, because John Alpert did have him in trouble early,
mm-hmm.
but just the fact that, Kim Winslow is the referee, and it was just another controversial stoppage.
Good old
by
Kim
her.
Winslow.
The Ken Stone set the record for the fastest finish in bantamweight history for the UFC, and in the Byron Bloodworth, I don't even really know why he was fighting a guy. Because to me, I felt like Byron Bloodworth probably should have been first, and then Alpert, and then Ken Stone.
Yeah.
But now Takeya Mizugaki, I still think he's a step above everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Mizugaki is one of the toughest. Now he's not the best guy, like my dog said. He's a gatekeeper. He's kind of the guy that says, if I can beat you, you don't belong in the UFC. If you can beat me, well, then I just have to start over and just make sure that somebody else doesn't beat me next time.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of toughness that he showed in his last fight in the WC against Uriah Faber.
Yep.
By trying not to get put to sleep, and then it didn't work out because once Uriah Faber gets you in a choke, it's all over. But other than that, this guy is awesome on the stand up, and he's got takedowns too. You can look at his record, and we'll show win-loss. But if you look at his last two fights in Japan, man, a lot of people say that Brian Caraway won that fight against Takeya Mizugaki, and then if you look at the Chris Carriasso fight in Japan the year before, and a lot of people, I think Takeya Mizugaki won that fight hands down. I couldn't believe that all three judges gave Chris Carriasso 2 rounds. Mm-hmm. But so that's and then you've got Goito here, who 3 of his 4 losses were split decisions, and he's only got 2 wins by decision. So he's got more losses by decision than wins. Whether they're split or not, they're losses. And I just see this fight going the distance, and regardless of who wins the fight, anybody could get screwed by the judges based on just anything that happens in the fight. So my pick on this one is I'm gonna go Takeya Mizugaki by split decision on this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't blame you, dog. Basically, in a nutshell, as we talk about it, the more we talk about it, in a nutshell, it comes down to this: Perez is a finisher. Mizugaki's a decision fighter. All Mizugaki needs to do is ride it out for a decision, and all Perez needs to do is end the fight. But the problem is, once it gets to that second and third round, is Perez just going to be laying on his back, moving, doing something, but not enough to finish the fight? How many times have we seen that? And it's so frustrating to watch, especially if you bet on it, especially if your money riding on it. That's just insanity.
Yeah,
so,
I say Mizugaki's going to win, but when I say win by split decision, do I want to put my money on that?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean,
exactly. And so that basically covers that one in a nutshell. Moving on to the 6th fight, as we have it ranked here, And we have Rafael dos Anjos taking on Donald Cerrone, a pair of lightweights. Now, in this particular fight, it's very interesting. We got a grappler, we got a wrestler. Rafael dos Anjos has turned himself into a wrestler, going up against Donald Cerrone. Now, so it's a stylistic matchup. Rafael dos Anjos, in his last fight against Evan Dunham, in my opinion, I picked him to win, but in my opinion, he did not win that fight. The reason I picked him to win is because the fight was in Brazil. I knew they had very similar skill sets, but I thought dos Anjos' wrestling would be a little better than he actually showed. Now, it would not surprise me if the wrestling that he displays against Donald Cerrone is what I expected him to display against Evan Dunham. But, with that being said, Donald Cerrone, a finisher. He can knock you out. He can submit you. I don't think he'll submit Rafael dos Anjos, but it would not surprise me if he knocked him out. So, once again, a stylistic matchup. Usually I favor the wrestler. But in this particular case, with Donald Cerrone having the ability to finish it, I'm at a position where I'm thinking to myself, like, man, is Rafael dos Anjos going to go out there and show what I thought he was going to show in Brazil, or is he going to go out there and get knocked out by Donald Cerrone? Now, Donald Cerrone, I always know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get a guy out there who wants to go out there and fight. In the Diaz fight, it was disappointing to see the way he didn't adjust. He has Greg Jackson in his corner, and he didn't adjust. That's very concerning. So I can't bet on him. I cannot bet on Donald Cerrone. I cannot bet on Rafael dos Anjos because he's going up against such a tough guy in Donald Cerrone. But I can pick Rafael dos Anjos to win a decision. I won't be surprised if dos Anjos does get rocked or he's hurt early in the fight, but then he just finds a way to just continue grinding it out, grinds himself out a nice little decision, a little tongue twister there for you. So I'm going with Rafael dos Anjos on this fight. Dan, what do you have for us, Dan?
Yeah, dog. This fight looks awesome. But man, I couldn't believe what I saw from Rafael dos Anjos, or Rafael dos Anjos, however you pronounce it.
Rafael dos.
I couldn't believe what I saw in his fight in Brazil with Evan Dunham. I was just thinking to myself, Evan Dunham isn't going to win this fight. Rafael dos Anjos isn't going to win this fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I had picked Evan Dunham to win.
You did.
And as you told me before, dog, Evan Dunham gets screwed out of decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, going into Brazil, screwed out a decision. And if Rafael dos Anjos arguably won that decision, I'm sure my dog and I would both be picking him to beat Donald Cerrone as a betting pick.
Yep.
But we don't know which Rafael dos Anjos is going to show up. We're going to see the one that was out there and submitted Kamal Sherrillarous, the one that knocked out George Sotiropoulos, the one that wrestled Mark Bocek to a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to see that one, or are we going to see the one that fought Evan Dunham and got a miracle from the judges?
Yep.
And then, like Donald Cerrone, the IQ, is he really going to go in there and fight like he fought Nate Diaz, or is he going to go in there and do what he did to Jeremy Stevens or do what he did to Dennis Seaver? And then what has Donald Cerrone done recently? He beat KJ Nunes, which was expected. He beat Melvin Guillard after Melvin Guillard and then he lost to Anthony Pettis, which was a good matchup. A lot of people say Donald Cerrone gave up on that fight, but I just considered that fight to be Anthony Pettis just being a better fighter, got the better shots off, and overall. So I think this fight is going to go to a decision with Rafael dos Anjos using his wrestling. But do not bet.
Definitely do not bet. I won't be surprised if Cerrone's got his hands up at the end of that one. So that's a do not bet. Now with this other one, my dog has a good little argument when it comes to this particular fight we're going to take a look at, and that is I'll let my dog speak his piece, but it's a middleweight fight between Dylan Andrews and Papy Abedi. Now, right off the bat, Papy Abedi's going up to 185. Now, usually that's a concern, right? It's a red flag. It's a red light that goes up. Oh, what's going on here? But in my opinion, this is something that's good for Papy Abedi. Supposedly, Papy Abedi's gas tank was so bad because he was making such a drastic cut. Now that he's at 185, not dropping down to welterweight, He's going to have more cardio, more endurance. We just saw that last week with John Howard taking on the disappointing Uriah Hall, and which my dog and I both picked Howard, just for the record.
Yeah, just for the record.
Just for the record, we both picked Howard. Yeah. And I got a kick out of that because that Hall guy, man, what an overrated fighter. And the reason it stands out is because at UFC 157, this guy was walking around like he was the middleweight champion of the world. This guy was walking around. He's getting the VIP treatment. He thought he was the middleweight champion of the world. He's not even a UFC fighter anymore, or won't be. And
he keeps fighting like that.
Yeah, I mean, anyways, back to the story here. So, weight cuts. Weight cuts are very draining. There's a certain amount of water that the body must hold to have optimal performance. And trust me, guys, I can tell you, once you're dehydrated and you're competing at that level, it makes a huge difference. Now, that is a big variable in this fight. For me, that is a big variable in this fight. That's why I can't bet it. I cannot bet it. Now, in Dylan Andrews, I see a guy with striking power, a big heart, big desire to improve. He's working out in Colorado right now, so he's making the move from down under, coming all the way up here to Colorado, training up in that altitude, and then look what he did to that Quinlan guy, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu master. Obviously, Quinlan's stand-up's terrible. But then again, what is Papy going to offer at 185? I favor Andrew in this fight, but if the Papy Abedi that a lot of people were expecting to show up in the UFC shows up at 185 pounds, and like I told you guys, I'm not a big proponent of letting the odds sway you in one way or the other, but these odds are insane to me. This is insanity. Minus 285 right now, minus 280. Minus 300 for Dylan Andrews. And in my opinion, that's just insanity. Especially when, in my opinion, these two guys are a bit of loose cannons. I could see them trading on their feet in the first round. I could just see them going all at it. And in that case, it's a coin flip. It's just 50-50. Who's going to land that punch? Both these guys, fast twitch, explosive fighters. And I could see the argument for somebody wanting to bet Papy Abedi here. I really could see the argument. But then I could see it again for Andrews and say, hey, you know what? Abedi has to prove that he has the cardio. Abedi has to prove what a fighter he's going to show up to be at 185 pounds. With Andrews, we know what we're going to get. It's a little bit more limited. He's more limited, but still, he's more evolving, more on the rise, in my opinion. So for this one, guys, I am split, but I have to go with what I know, and I know that Andrews has a heart, determination. With Papy, he goes in there, and it appears to me like he will quit, like he did with that first fight with Thiago Alves, and then in his next fight, and then he won a split decision, which everybody thought he lost. So it's just I like both guys, so I have to take my fan side out of it. And I do have to say, I think I prefer. I like the show that Papy puts on. He goes out there and entertaining, but that doesn't matter when it comes to picking fights and winners. But I have zero interest in betting this fight, none whatsoever. And I'm gonna go with Dylan Andrews though, and this is gonna be, to me, two loose cannons out there just banging it out. With Dylan being a little bit more preserved, a little bit more disciplined, a little bit more disciplined out there, what I see from the fight footage, and I gotta go with Dylan Andrews on this one, and I'm really interested in what my dog Dan has to say about this one.
Yeah, dog. Papy Abedi has not impressed me in all three
Unfortunately
UFC
not.
fights. Every single fight he's fought so far in the UFC has gone on longer, and he's gotten worse. The first fight with Thiago Alves, he actually looked somewhat decent before Thiago Alves took him down and rocked him and submitted him. And the James Head fight, I couldn't believe what I was seeing until, when you think about it, Papy Abedi just isn't fighting at his proper weight class. He's fighting a 185er at 170, a guy that can actually cut to 170 easier without having any cardio issues. And so in his third fight with Bassem Youssef, I picked Papy Abedi to win this fight by decision, and that's what happened with the judges. But man, did he look gassed. I'm just thinking to myself, anybody with better cardio, because all he did was just basically hold Bessim Yusuf up against the cage, and it didn't do anything. And then you've got a really talented young prospect like Dylan Andrews coming out of the Ultimate Fighter, and I really like this guy. I know he lost to Uriah Hall in the Ultimate Fighter from the bottom. Dana White said, never have I seen a guy lose like that from the bottom.
Yeah,
or another guy win like that from the bottom.
Yeah,
but
this is while they're trying to build up Uriah Hall to be the next middleweight champ.
Exactly. But what I see in Dylan Andrews in this fight is I see a really smart guy going out there. If it goes to the distance, if it goes to the judges, I think it's going to be unanimous. I don't think it's going to be split. And I'm going to tell you another thing. If Papy Abedi wins any round, it's going to be the first round. And that's going to be it.
Mm-hmm.
But having said all of that, I think second or third round, Dylan Andrews is going to take him down.
Yeah, Papy
Abedi's
just gassed and sitting there gassed out. And it's just one of those fights,
But because it's at 185, like you said, Doc, what kind of Papy are we going to get? The Papy Abedi we're expecting against Thiago Alves? Or are we going to get the one
this guy who's hydrated and full energy, and he goes out there and shows some of himself? So variables, question marks. Why risk it? There's no sense in risking it. For the next fight, this fight, I am hyped. I am what you might call hype the hooch up. I am what you might call a hype the hooch MMA up for, and my dog and I both have good arguments here, and this is going to be a really good fight, guys. Let me see what fight number it is here. It's the fourth fight of the night. The fourth fight of the night. And that is Darren Elkins versus Hatsu Hioki. Now, Darren Elkins, I really like this guy. He is a tough wrestler. Good chin. Good cardio. And, every time I see this guy go out, he looks like, to me, it looks like somebody who can be counted out. Yeah, I'll count this guy out. He just goes out there, grinds out the win, just a gritty, nitty little fighter. He goes out there and does nothing but win. Sure, he has a loss, but he lost to the number 2 guy in the world, somebody who nobody wants to fight, and Chad Mendez. The beasts are all training up there in Sacramento. So, of course, that doesn't surprise me or bring me down on him at all. But then we got this guy, this Japanese guy, with 2 losses and his back against the wall. Now, what is Elkins' game? Elkins' game is wrestling, grind it out. I'm going to grind you out. But when you have that kind of game, you leave yourself open for, in my opinion, a guy like Hatsu Hioki, who has the submissions and the jiu-jitsu and just the cleverness of this fighting to wrap up a limb, to wrap something up, and unlike the Mongolian wolf, dog, how do you say his name, dog? You're real good at saying it.
Tietran Zhang.
Huh?
Tietran Zhang.
That guy. And unlike the Mongolian wolf, Hioki has the ability to not only grab that submission but not let it go. And with having 2 losses in a row, I really don't see Hatsu Hioki coming in less than the Hatsu Hioki I'm describing. Just grab a hold of that arm, grab a hold of that leg, grab a hold of that neck, whatever he needs to do to get that submission. So with this particular fight, I'm taking a look here at the odds as they currently sit, and Hatsu Hioki's around minus 135, a slight favorite. Darren Elkins is a slight underdog. So I have zero interest in betting this fight, but I am going to go with Hatsu Hioki winning by submission, and it would not surprise me if it's in the first round when they are a little less slippery and he can grab a hold of something. But that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if Elkins grinds out a decision. So I want to hear what my MMA dog Dan has to say about this.
Yeah,
what do you got to say about this one?
This fight, oh man, I really like it when they match up styles like this. You've got Hatsu Hioki, who his only losses so far to date have been by decision, 6 times, and that sounds like a lot, but he's got way more wins than that. He's got 6 decision losses, and 4 of those decision losses are split. Now, having said that, I have to disagree with the judges on his fight at 137 and his UFC debut with George Roop. I really feel like Hatsu Hioki got a miracle from the judges on that one. I picked Hatsu Hioki to win that fight, and I felt that George Roop did enough to win that fight, and I was very, very happy and very, very surprised at the call. And then since then, he beat Bart Polishweski, who, he's probably, I haven't heard anything about him since Cole Miller submitted him. And then since then he lost to Ricardo Lomas and Clay Guida,
Yep.
and Clay Guida obviously very controversial. But at the same time, Darren Elkins here, this guy, he came into the UFC, knocked out Dwayne Ludwood. He got submitted by Charles Oliveira. He actually lost the fight to Omagawa. This fight was, it was unanimous for Darren Elkins, but everybody said Michihiro Omagawa won this fight. But I'm sure if they had a rematch, Darren Elkins would easily beat Michihiro Omagawa. But since then, he beat the Mongolian Wolf, which isn't that impressive. But if you've seen that fight, this guy was stuck in 6 guillotines, and we're talking at least 2 or 3 of these were near fight ending guillotines. I mean, they were just really tight. And since that fight, even the Diego Brandao fight, we counted him out. We learned from that fight, and we picked him to beat Steven Siler. Couldn't believe that was a pick'em fight. And then he knocked out Antonio Carvalho, and that guy, that's not very impressive or anything, and you can't really blame him for his loss to Chad Mendes, because Chad Mendes, that guy's just a beast, beast. But I just feel like Hatsu Hioki, the guys he loses to are wrestlers. And Darren Elkins, the only guy he loses to are the best in the world. Chad Mendes and Charles Oliveira obviously was very early in his UFC career. I just feel like
here in San Diego,
I just feel like he's the better fighter, and I'm gonna go with Darren Elkins by decision on this one. But do not bet.
That's a great point, Dog. I have it here in my notes that Hioki does lose to wrestlers, and that's concerning. But with that being said, by losing to wrestlers, there's always that vulnerability of the wrestler getting their limb caught up their neck or whatever, what have you. And
that's true.
If Hatsu didn't have 2 losses in a row, I would go with Elkins. But I know that extra fire, that extra fucking kick in the ass that it gives these fighters when they've got 2 losses in a row, and they know they got to get their shit together and go in there and perform. Otherwise, Uncle Dana is going to give them their last little paycheck and say, "I'm the way you go in your career." So I gotta. As much as it pains me to pick against a wrestler and Elkins and everything I've seen, I have to do it because you know what? I'm trying to get as many right as I can here and make as much as possible here. So that's that. Now, for this one, we're going to take it a level below. These are guys who,
just any guy could win.
Yeah, just any guy can win. This particular fight. Let's just go straight in. Let's go straight into this one. Now, Kelvin Gastelum, not Kevin, but Kelvin Gastelum. He opened up at. Let's see what his opening line was. I don't say minus 250. Let's see what we have here. He opened up at minus 159, and he's currently down to minus 230, minus 250, minus 270. Now, the reason I'm pointing out the odds here is because I really like Kelvin. I really like his style. I really like what he has to offer. I really like his outlook. I really like who he's been training with. I really like everything about this guy, but that price is insane. That is just insanity. Going up against a killer in this Brian Mellon guy. What's his last name, Doug?
I think it's Melonson, but it might be Melancon. I don't know.
Melonson.
100%.
Melonson. I say Mellon just to.
Melonson sounds better, but I think it might be Melancon.
Yeah, Melonson's Brian Mellon because.
Just call him Brian.
Yeah, Brian Mellon, just because I think it's so funny that one of my least favorite fruits here, fruits and vegetables here, Brian Mellon. But Brian Mellon, this guy, if you watch the Seth Brzezinski fight, I mean, this little guy comes out there like a real killer. I mean, he just goes out there, knockout power, and he has wrestling to boot. So he's going up against a guy in Kelvin who's going to try and grind him out. Now, Kelvin does have better cardio, but in that first round, Kelvin has been going up against guys in the Ultimate Fighter, and we know how that all planned out, all those fighters, and how that all panned out. So that really is really concerning. So, man, this is a really tough fight to pick, and with Brian sitting at plus 190, it almost makes it an interesting bet in Brian, sitting at almost plus 200, because he's coming forward and banging, and Gastelum, though, Kelvin's undefeated, and he looks like a real good guy in the making, but I have zero interest in betting this fight. If I was going to bet anybody, it would be the underdog. But once again, I don't like to bet guys unless I really think they're going to win. So I'm going to hold off on it. Man, for this one, I'm going to say Kelvin survives. I'm going to say he gets rocked for sure. He gets rocked in the first round, but he'll survive it, hold on for dear life, and win the second and third round and win a 29-28 unanimous decision. So I'm going to go with Kelvin for the pick. Do not bet. And Dan, what do you got for us?
Yeah, dog. Just as you were talking about this, I was kind of analyzing this fight in my head, and I'm just thinking, how is this going to go? I see either guy winning a decision on this one. But having said that, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say this fight goes a lot like Chet Congo, Pat Barry, and as we just saw with Overeem and Brown, where one guy is going to viciously slaughter his opponent, and then his opponent is going to come back
for dear life
and win. Just he's going to come back and he's going to win somehow just by being rocked and making his opponent kind of come in and just. So I'm going to go out on a limb here, and it could happen to either guy. But I'm going to say Brian Melonson comes on strong, and Kelvin Gastelum survives and knocks out Brian Melonson in the first round, late in the first round or early in the second round.
And that's what makes this fight so interesting, dog. Is just like you're saying, any guy, either guy, and it's insanity to be sitting at plus 190 on a guy who could very easily win the fight.
Yeah.
Now it is on quick turnover. He just recently fought, and usually that doesn't work in guys' favor. It's just like long layoffs. So with that,
you get enough time to train.
Yeah. So with that, I have to go with Kelvin, but I would not be surprised if Brian Melonson ends up winning it. So it's just a tough fight. Tough fight there. Too many variables. Now I have even a lower tier here, even a lower one that just says, "Are you crazy?" This is a do not bet. And so let's just go ahead and take it from the top here. We'll just scoot on over to this one. So for this one, a welterweight matchup: Zach Cummings versus Benny Alloway, and Cummings. He hasn't fought in a year and a half. And if you take a look here at all the different weight classes he's fought at, for this particular fight, doing it down at a welterweight, he's fought as high as light heavyweight. And with Cummings, if you take a look at these guys, Cummings will want to take this fight to the ground, and then with Alloway, he'll want to keep this fight standing. But Cummings, he's fought better guys than Jimmo and Kennedy, but there's just too many variables here in my opinion. With Alloway progressing and getting better and just continuing to I believe he's 33 years old, but he's just continuing to improve. He got a late start in the game. He just continues to show up better and better. He's training with Dylan Andrews. They're both in Colorado, and I'm gonna have to go with Benny Alloway here. Cummings, like I said, will try to get the fight to the ground, win by submission, and Alloway has lost by submission. But I just see Alloway with more upside here, with more of an improvement. Whereas Cummings, the fight video footage that I saw on this guy, he just looks the same, doesn't show any improvements. And I have a big problem with guys like that. So I'm going with Benny Alloway here. It's just a do not bet though. I'm not interested in betting this fight. Way too many question marks. Dan, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with Zach Cummings. I know he was on The Ultimate Fighter, and I know he made his way into the house and everything. But this Benny Alloway guy, this guy's a hit or miss. He didn't look all that impressive in his UFC debut against Manuel Rodriguez, and somehow I think there was like an eye poke or a groin shot or something where the referee had to stop the fight, and I think it was Rodriguez that was that was injured or something. And so anyways, there's probably maybe like less than a minute left in the first round. And as soon as the referee okay, let's fight. Let's get back let's get the end of this round sorted out so we can get on to the next one. Benny Alloway just comes in there with the front kick like Anderson Silva and knocks the guy out that he just apparently groin shot or eye poked. I don't remember exactly what it was. But he got knocked out of the night for it. And then, his next fight, he just basically got manhandled by Ryan LaFleur. And that was Ryan LaFleur's UFC debut. So, it's like this guy's a hit or miss. I don't want to put money on this guy. It was a hit or miss fighting a guy who, did his thing in the Ultimate Fighter, but really hasn't, broken his way into the UFC. Nah. But ultimately, I'm going to go ahead and say Benny Alloway wins this fight by decision.
Yeah. Now, you want to talk about hit or miss. Let's talk a little bit about James Head versus Jason High.
Yeah. Now,
with James Head, man, let's backtrack a little bit here. He beat Brian Ebersol via split decision. Now, if you take a look at that fight, if you watch it, you can clearly tell something was wrong with Ebersol. Some people say he was cutting down to lightweight, and he just didn't take the fight seriously. That, in my opinion, he did both those things, in my opinion. He just looked with little muscle, almost no muscle on him, just looked very weird, sickly, and not only that, but you could tell he wasn't prepared. He wasn't taking this fight seriously, and Brian Ebersol usually is a gamer, and his fight before that, he beat Papy Abedi. Papy Abedi, we talked about him earlier in this fight. It's like, really? And then Head has a loss to Mike Pyle, who, this guy. And then if we take a look over at the other side, Jason High, they put him in a suicide fight against Eric Silva down in Brazil, and it's just, what is this guy gonna do? James High has no chin, and then James Head, he's just a hit and miss guy, going up against, when he faces good opposition, he loses. He lost to McGee. So I really, this particular fight, either fighter, I won't be surprised if James Head gets the knockout, and I wouldn't surprise me if Jason High ends up getting the decision, grinding out a decision or wrestling decision, because he is a better grappler. He is definitely the better wrestler. So I'm gonna go with Jason High by decision via wrestling death match. But there's just too many variables here with High and that bad chin. I can't bet this fight, and seriously, it's just one of those ones where it's like it's a do not bet. Dan, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, this fight looks good. This is a fight that, definitely do not bet, because you don't know you don't know what James Head's gonna show. We're gonna see the James Head that beat Papy Abedi, just dominated him completely. Papy Abedi isn't all that impressive.
Yeah, exactly.
To show, but
exactly.
Yeah, the Brian Ebersol fight, he won. But that was a split decision. So, I'm sure if anybody had bet on that fight, there was a lump in their throat going into the decision. So, I'm just saying, even if they thought he won the fight, as soon as Bruce Buffer announces that one judge gave it to Ebersol, it's kind of like, hey, it could go the other way. And so
exactly.
And then the Mike Pyle fight, I think we were both pretty disappointed with that performance, because I remember picking James Head to beat Mike Pyle, and Mike Pyle just shoved it right in our face.
Yeah.
And I just feel like Jason High. I don't know if he's faced some pretty top guys, Jordan Meehan.
I can't.
And Eric Silva, but I just feel like either guy could win this one. I kind of favor Jason High on this one. I think bless you, dog.
Thank you.
I think it's gonna be a submission in the first or second round for Jason High. I just think he's just the bigger guy. With James Head, I feel like he moved down to welterweight. What's the word? He moved down to welterweight because he lost to Nick Ring via submission, and I feel like he stands a better chance in this fight against Jason High, or against a guy that's more of his weight class at 185. And so I feel like Jason High, coming off the loss to Eric Silva in Brazil, is going to come out there and do his thing. So I'm going to go with Jason High by first or second round submission, but do not bet.
Now I got a funny Jason High story for you guys since we're wrapping it all up.
We got one left.
One of the first MMA live events that I went to, one of the first big live MMA events was Affliction way back in 2009 when Fedor fought. When Fedor fought Andrei Arlovsky, and I got a funny story about Jason High. So everybody's waiting for that main event, Fedor, the last emperor. Everybody wants to see him fight, and it's the Honda Center in Anaheim, and I'm up there hyped out, chub watching the fight, and then Andrei Arlovsky goes for that stupid flying knee, and Fedor just throws that big hand over and boom, knocks him out. Shoom. And then everybody gets up, everybody's hyped. Oh yeah, Fedor won and everything like that. Well, what did you expect? And all of a sudden, I see these guys running from the back. Hey, they're running in. Oh, these little guys are running. Get him in. And it's Jay Huron and Jason High. Well, you know what? The Affliction didn't time it correctly, so now these two guys have to fight it after the main event, after the pay-per-view's over. They rush him out there. What happens? Jay Huron goes out there, pew, knocks out Jason High, boom, right to the ground. A minute and 4 seconds. And and it's just like you look at his record of submission and or knockout. He wins by submission. He gets knocked out. So, but I think with him having a little taste of getting the opportunity to go back in the UFC, hopefully he can grind out a decision. But damn, this fight go either way, no doubt about it. And then last but not least, a welterweight matchup between Justin Edwards and Brandon Thatch. Now, if you take a look at Brandon Thatch, if you watch some of the footage, I mean, this guy is a real killer. First round knockouts, first round submissions, and first round submissions, first round
and
knockouts.
TKOs, yeah.
I mean, this guy is just a real killer. And in Fast Eddie here, we got a guy who is going to try and grind this fight out. Show him, I've been in the UFC for a while. I'm going to take you down. I'm going to grind you out and show you what it is to be a rookie in the UFC. But is he going to be able to do that? Is Thatch going to be able to just dispatch him in the first round? We'll have to wait and see. I'm going to go ahead and go with a prospect here. I'm going to go with Brandon Thatch, welterweight. But it's a not. And then the other thing is, I'm taking a look. I was taking a look the other day at the opening line and where the odds stand, and this Thatch character sitting at minus 250, minus 270, minus 260. It's a do not bet for me. And I won't be surprised if Edwards somehow grinds out the decision and ends up winning this fight. But I'll go with Thatch for the ups for making the rookie showing up as a rookie here, beating the veteran and beating him by a finish, I would say. But it's a do not bet for me. Dog, what do you got for this one?
Yeah, dog. Justin Edwards is one of those guys that I really admire when watching The Ultimate Fighter. I was really disappointed in his loss to Clay Harbison. But since that fight, we've seen a new fighter in Justin Edwards. He took out after losing to Clay Harbison. He beat George Lopez, who was Vanderlei Silva's little prospect. He said he's the next big thing.
Yep.
And, he knocked out John McGuire early, and the referee didn't stop the fight. And John McGuire recovered and wound up grinding out the decision. And, and then he beat Josh Neer when Josh Neer was just getting started on his way out of the UFC. And this Brandon Thatch guy is a really dangerous guy, but his one and only loss was the only time he's gone a decision, and that decision was also the only time he's been outside the first round. So what kind of guy are we going to see after the first round if Justin Edwards can survive? So I'm going to go, and here's another really big thing now. Now, Brandon Thatch is a really scary guy, coming into this fight. So I can see why he's the favorite and everything, but I love Justin Edwards at plus money. Both of his wins in the UFC, he was a pretty hefty underdog in both those fights. And I would not be that surprised if he takes this guy to the judges and wins a split decision or a unanimous decision, majority decision. I would not be surprised.
There you go.
So I'm gonna say do not bet. I'm gonna say do not bet on this fight, but Justin Edwards at plus money, he hates being counted out as the underdog, and so far he's always proved the odds makers wrong. So I'm going to go with Justin Edwards here by decision. But do not bet, although I do like him as the underdog. I will say that.
Ooh-wee. Now with that being all said, let's go ahead and recap our betting strategy here.
Yeah.
So First off, a couple things that I didn't say in the beginning. I just want to clear them up, get them out of the way. First thing is you want to budget yourself, right? Whether you bet X amount of dollars per event or whether you do units. Some people like to do a certain percentage of what they have saved up. There's some real freaks out there who like to bet their mortgage and their rent and all this stuff. We don't. That's not what we're here for. And then for the people who are out there who start saying, "Oh, you shouldn't promote betting," and "Oh, you shouldn't do this and do that." Hey, you know what?
Isn't for everybody.
You know what? This isn't for everybody. And you know what? Go turn on the TV. Go turn on the news and see what's going on outside. I think there's bigger things for you to worry about than somebody who is not only giving out advice and saying, "Hey, be careful. Don't let this overrun your life. You gotta budget yourself." Hey, you know what? You might not be able to bet big for 5 years. For 5 years, you might have to bust your ass and work a job that you don't like. But you know what? If that's what it takes to be a responsible person and do things the right way, that's the way you want to do it. Now, if you want to make a life choice and say, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to be irresponsible with it. I'm gonna bet money that I shouldn't be betting," that's on you. But for somebody to say, "Hey, don't talk about that. Hey, you know what? This is the United States of America. It's freedom of speech, and if you have a problem with it, go outside to the real world and take a look and watch something and make a difference in somebody's life instead of sitting there. You turn on the news, see what's going on around the world. There's there's bigger fish to fry. There's a lot of other things to worry about than somebody betting on MMA. Second motherfucking thing of all is that if you are in an area of the world or in the United States where betting is legal, like Las Vegas, like, for example, somewhere in a country that is legal, like for us, Mexico is 10 minutes away. Make the little trip. You can make your wagers, do whatever you need to do. Or you're somewhere where, you can do it. Vegas is my favorite example, but there's a lot of different areas you can research it if you want. Then there's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to stress out about. Just do things the right way, and you can have your fun and not have to worry about anything. Have a nice hobby you can enjoy, and something to look forward to. Now, let's end this on a positive note here. So let's recap it. Let's recap the picks. Our first winner of the night is going to be Brad Tavares. We're going to go Brad Tavares, 4 stars. The second pick is going to be Carlos Condit. And then the third pick is going to be Abel Trujillo. So those are the 3 betting picks that we are going to guarantee, that we have on our terms and conditions and all that good stuff. Those are the 3 guys we're going with. Tavares being a 4-star, Condit being a 3-star, and Trujillo being also a 3-star. And then, of course, we've got all the other ones we went over. Now, for the other ones, we don't expect you to have to rewind this and watch it all over. You can if you want. That's fine. We don't expect you to have to memorize it or write it all down. So we're going to send you a text file showing you guys all of our picks. The important ones are the 3 top ones we talked about.
And those are the actual betting picks. Those are the only ones that
those are the only ones that we're guaranteeing that we're going to go put our name on it, put our stamp on it, and endorse it. And then, of course, for the rest of them, we'll send out the file, let you know. But we basically covered every single thing we wanted to cover.
Yeah, I think so.
And that pretty much does it. So we're going to wrap it all up here. This room is very hot right now. and I've got my allergies going. So this is going to be enough of talking. So, check out our website. If you're new to this, check out our website, MMADawgs.com. You can find our proven track record. My dog's doing a great job with all the production and editing. So Facebook, Twitter, the videos, everything's full speed. And then if you have any questions, feel free to email my dog, Dan at MMADawgs.com, Hector at MMADawgs.com.
Or you can email both of us at info at MMADawgs.com, and that will get sent to both of us.
You can do that too. Yeah, so we're there. We're available if you want to ask a question or if you're curious about this or about that. We get plenty of emails and messages on Facebook and stuff, so feel free to do that. And that pretty much sums it up, Doc. Do you have anything else to say?
Thank you very much for supporting us. If you supported us, and if you're not supporting us, this is like a taste of what you're going to get before the fight, and plenty of time before the fight to bet. And we look forward to 8 days of UFC. Basically, we've got UFC Fight Night Wednesday. And then UFC 164 Saturday, and then UFC Fight Night Wednesday again. So it's going to be awesome. We can't wait.
Yep, exactly. So that's what I was going to end it up with. Thank you, the viewer. Thank you for the people who are supporting us and say, hey, you know what? I have faith in the MMA Dawgs. I'm going to go ahead and pay per event, win some money this weekend. Of course, I never want to be cocky or too confident because, you never want to be that person who's so cocky and confident, like all these fighters that we talk about. You don't want to be a person who's so cocky who goes in there and underestimates their opponent, but you definitely want to be confident. You can be confident if you did the homework, you did your research, you have a track record of winning. You can be very confident about it, but you never want to be to the point where I'm gonna. So that pretty much sums it all up. So thank you for tuning in to our MMA Dawg family. Thank you for supporting us. We will continue to bring you winning picks. We will continue to guarantee it. And we will see you guys and talk to you guys real soon.
Bye, guys.
You gon' push your parlay. You should think about tapping or that arm gon' break. Snap, make money in a flash. Got 3 days off, time to get that cash. Weekends in too quick, make your mind up fast. Place your bets, make you a splash. Pop bottles from your earnings, get trashed. If you in Vegas, it's an automatic blast. If you at home or a bar, it ain't bad. Especially if you need a spot, call your ass money bags. MMA Dawgs say, you got money on them, say. If you know, go win, say. MMA Dawgs say, you got money on them, say. If you know who gon' win, say. MMA Dawgs.